Well, folks, you've been waiting for it, and it's finally back. JoJo 190. We're reviewing every episode of the JoJo's Bizarre Adventure anime, and today we're discussing the first 5 episodes of Part 2, Battle Strategies. What the fuck did you say it was called, Biggs?
Battle Tendencies.
Battle Tendencies, and boy, do they battle a lot. If I thought that the original series was, a good pace, good clip, this is like on overdrive. There's like 3 boss fights in every episode. It's insane.
So before we get too far into it, my first thing I've been wondering, and I was going to ask you this when you texted me about one of the episodes, but I was like, no, I got to save it for the show. What are your initial thoughts on the art change, on the style change?
That's not really something I picked up on, to be honest, Biggs. Is it that different?
Yeah, that's like a huge part of watching JoJo's each season and how different the styles change. And like, for me too, is also like the color palettes are crazy different than the first one.
That might be my autism speaking, because I don't really pick up on that or pay too much attention. It just, it's just a cartoon to me.
Fair enough.
But let's dive in, because we're skipping a generation. I thought that JoJo would be a generational story where, passing the torch to your son, but oh no. The Joe that we know who died on that boat, his own son died in what I have to assume was World War I. I said that he was a soldier. So now we're with his grandson, and the only family left is, to Joseph. This is Joseph, right? The new one?
Yeah.
Joseph Joestar and his grandma, Irina Pendleton. They're living in New York. And a bunch of crazy shit from their past, or from Irina's past, is going to come back to haunt. And thankfully, this JoJo is extremely talented at fighting and using hockey or whatever the fuck. What is the name of the shit in the show? The power system? Yeah, Hamon. We don't have to watch him train or nothing. He's already great at it. So that was fun. We immediately get horrible violence.
Well, that's not totally true. He knows how to use it, but he's not well trained in it.
I'd say he's extremely skilled to start off, but just because the power scaling is getting so high by the end of these 5 episodes that he will have to increase his power and abilities. But he's clearly more talented in episode 1 here than his ancestor ever was, right?
To an extent, I guess. I mean, he has pretty good control of it, but I guess it hasn't really explained yet like what power level he's technically at. I think that'll come in the next 5 episode chunk.
The fact that he's fighting a pillar man with very little fear or issues would suggest that he's already pretty fucking strong.
Yeah, and like I said, he's gotten to the point where he can wield it like at will. He's not having that trouble. But I would say he's like pretty much where Jonathan was at the end of part 1.
Okay.
So he's like at the what would you say? The beginning of the next level, I guess.
And evidently, I thought that Hamon was something that like maybe anybody could tap into, but I guess you have to be born with the ability, and that the middle Joe of this family did not get the powers. It skipped a generation.
Yeah, and I guess that was something I didn't necessarily understand at first, because like when Zeppeli is explaining it in the first part, he's like, yeah, everyone can do Hamon, they just have to learn the technique or something. And then now it's like,
did they fuck up?
See, I don't know. I can't say much until we get further into the show, but it's like, yeah, it is kind of strange that it comes off as like a genetic thing.
Okay, so we start off, it's 1930s New York City, and there's a little rascal running around, little black boy named Smokey. I have to assume his surname is McPlant.
Smokey the Bandit.
Smokey McPlant. And he gets into some trouble. He steals some shit from JoJo and gets caught by the police. And this is when we discover the kind of man that Joseph Joestar is. He, despite being robbed by this child, he still takes his side over the police and very violently assaults the police after they wipe a booger on his face. And I love how specific and violent the action is on this show. Because when you think of something like Dragon Ball Z, it's really more of blunt force. Like it's just big punches. The idea is that this punch is strong enough to like break through a mountain. Like that's the idea of the action. Or I'm going to shoot a beam at you. But here it's, I'm going to flick something specifically at the trigger finger while you're holding a gun, and we're going to like see the bone crack and shatter, and it's going to be just very specific in the violence, and that is throughout all 5 of these episodes. I fucking love that. I love guys getting fucking cactus shit blown up in their face. The violence here is so much better than just generic anime violence.
Right, yeah. I think it's great. The fight scenes, man, I really gotta give it to them. So I haven't read all of the manga, but when you read it and you're like watching these fights unfold in the manga, I feel like the animators did like perfect at executing like the thought behind it. You know what am I trying to say? Like the way he pictured it while drawing the panels and stuff is exactly how they executed it in the animation. I think it's great.
Can you fill me in? I might have forgotten a lot of part 1 because the character of Straizo is back, and I'm thinking, oh, he's going to be the big bad villain of this arc, but he does not last too long. Can you remind me, what the fuck did Straizo do in part 1?
So do you remember during... Yeah, I'm pretty sure it was the final fight with Dio. The 3 guys that came in, and there's the guy that got like frozen, and he was like a talking head at the end. He was like in the fireplace or whatever, and then they shattered his frozen head or something. And then there's the bald guy that was like the master of Hamon that showed up. He was like the trainer. Straizo was the 3rd guy. I don't think he really said a whole lot, but he was part of those 3 that showed up.
So I was right to not remember this character.
Yeah, I mean, I even kind of forgot that he existed, and this is like my 3rd time watching through.
Well, he was inspired by Dio, and he says, hey, I want all that power, but I'm not going to go crazy with it like Dio. I just want to be this immortal, badass vampire dude. And I also want to kill Joseph Joestar and Irina Pendleton because I guess they know too much. Or why does he want to get revenge on them?
So the reason he's trying to kill them is because he wants to kill anyone with the knowledge of how Dio was defeated.
Okay.
So that way he's unstoppable, basically.
Spoiler alert, he does get stopped pretty quick. But yeah, they have a great fight in a little restaurant, and JoJo, he's anticipating this danger because underneath his trench coat, he's hiding a full Tommy gun, and he just fucking blasts the dude and unloads 1,000 bullets into him.
And my favorite part of that scene, too, was the realism of how the crowd reacted. Like, everyone started freaking out, screaming, like, murder, murder. And even Smokey's like, dude, what did you just do? You just killed that guy. And he's just like, oh, that's fine. You'll see. Like, I was waiting for this guy. And Smokey's like, that doesn't change the fact you just shot him in broad daylight.
Would you consider this to be a gag manga? Or is it more supposed to be serious action? Because a lot of when they explain their attacks or like their weapons, like it feels so insane that you would think it's a joke. And I think the beauty is that they take it 100% seriously. And I do have some examples for you.
I guess I didn't really think of that before.
So
I would say
Straizo has a scarf, and he explains that this scarf is made out of 300,000 rare beetles whose stomachs have like the purest form of Hamon, and like that's just comically insane. Like I knitted this scarf out of 300,000 magical beetles, but we're just supposed to take it as like, oh man, how's it gonna get past that? But it's objectively funny, right?
Yeah. That's what I was going to say. I don't know if they obviously put a lot of thought into it, but I don't think they were meant to like take it too seriously.
I think the characters, take it seriously, but it's funny for us. Right. Any other anime might have like, he introduces the beetle scarf, and then like one of the characters whose job is to like have their eyes poke out and scream in the corner, like, oh my god, that kind of stuff. But they don't do it. They don't play it as a joke. Right. They play it like this is a real weapon he has to go up against.
Yeah, I guess the way I'll put it is the way just the idea behind it. I feel like the writer's like, yeah, this is supposed to be a little comical, but as far as like the dialogue and stuff goes, yeah, the characters take it seriously.
Yeah. Uh, they run away because you can't stop this immortal vampire, and Straizo takes a reporter hostage up on the bridge, and JoJo's like, I don't even know who that is. I don't give a fuck. And I thought that was really funny.
Yeah, so and I think what Joseph was trying to do is like, I don't care. I'm the type of person that like if I don't know him, it's not my problem kind of thing. I think ultimately he was just trying to trick Straizo into just letting her go and coming down to fight him. Because then obviously Straizo like rips her molar out and then he immediately flips a switch and he's like full fight mode. So
yeah, that was straight out of a Serbian film, like just pulling out this woman's teeth one by one. That's pretty gnarly. And then later on, after JoJo wins the day and saves her, like she slaps him and said, "Why'd you call me a hussy?" And he didn't even remember what he was like, all the shit he was talking.
No, he said, "Why would I fight for an ugly girl?" She got mad that he called her ugly.
Yeah, how does he defeat Straizo? There was one good move I liked because Straizo keeps shooting laser beams out of his eyes. So
yeah, so he takes a whiskey glass.
He takes a shot glass. I thought it's just like a little shot glass, and he like deflects it like magic cylinder.
Well, it was decent size. That's why I say like whiskey glasses like that big. But yeah, he puts it on his forehead and like fills it with Hamon, so like the beam like goes inside and reflects back out. That was really funny.
Yeah, that was good. And Straizo warns him, hey, you think I'm bad? You got to look out for these pillar men. The pillar men are coming. And I assume I'm not supposed to completely understand, but here's my thoughts on the pillar men. So it's kind of like the three-eyed crow. Like we got this dude who's like half alive inside of a fucking tree trunk with a bunch of crazy spooky branches. And the mask from part 1 that you wear to turn into a vampire, I guess these masks are maybe growing also here, or maybe they're just placed there so ceremoniously. But the idea is these pillar men are the ones behind the power that gave us so much grief in part 1, and that they don't even use it to like take advantage of people. They just turn people into vampires so that they can absorb their power. So like the most terrifying boss monster of part 1 is literally just a lamb for this new boss. Like it's just his food source.
It's just his snack that he eats to gain even stronger powers. Like, that's funny. I didn't even think of that way when I watched this the first time of like, yeah, the boss of last season is like the least of their worries. It's what they're eating in this.
The new JoJo deals with basically an equal level boss in Straizo, and he beats him in 2 episodes.
Yeah, and I think the one thing I like about the way they do it this like in JoJo is like in Dragon Ball, yeah, I can get like, oh, they're fighting somebody stronger and they have to like find the willpower to be stronger themselves, blah blah blah. But I like how in this show it shows them like getting like beat to a pulp and then actually going through and like having this like this training arc where they're getting stronger and finding allies to help them and stuff, instead of like, oh, all of my friends are here to support me, but they're on the sidelines watching this like a football game. I kind of
most of Goku's entourage, they all put in some shots against Frieza when they can, but ultimately it has to come down to the hero.
Yeah, because like in what episode was it? Was it episode 3 or I think it was 4 when he's fighting Santana, and why am I blanking on his name? No, I just had it. The German soldier that was helping them, Stroman.
He dies. Who cares?
Yeah, but even he's like, okay, I'm gonna go in and help, and he like runs up the stairs and gets his leg chopped off to help JoJo.
Yeah, this is an interesting choice, but maybe not since the writer is Japanese. But it would appear that with this World War II backdrop, we're going to have JoJo teaming up with the Axis powers to take on an even worse threat, because he's kind of working with some Nazis, he's kind of working with some Italians, and I mean, he himself is not Japanese, but his god is, his creator.
Yeah, Rudolf von Stroheim. Dude, he's such a cool character. I don't know. I think Man, lost potential, right?
Well, the Nazis, and did I get this right? The Nazis have a they have a base in Mexico. Did this ever happen?
I have no idea.
This can't be this can't be based on real life, right?
It doesn't sound right.
Should I ask ChatGPT? Did the Nazis ever have what?
Bases?
A base in Mexico? There is no historical evidence. That's too bad.
Sebastian says it was in Brazil.
I don't think it was, because JoJo rides a motorcycle.
He might be saying they actually had one in Brazil or something.
Oh, okay.
IRL.
More like Argentina. Dank and Doggy, thanks for the 20, but I'm not calling Patchy during our JoJo review, so I'm sorry.
So with that base in Mexico, it shows how Joseph fights this guy, and I can't remember his name because I'm terrible with names for some reason. What do you think of that character, the guy that was like stalking him while he's on his motorcycle?
The guy who gets cactused in the face?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, that was just, mini boss fight number one. Like, it lasted 5 minutes. You could have cut it out of the episode and literally nothing would change. But it was a cool fight, so 10 out of 10.
Yeah, I think what the point of that fight was to show, like, he's not the brightest. Like, he is kind of a dumb character, and he's a little he doesn't really think things through, but he still finds ways when he messes up to like come out the victor. Because he's like, oh, I meant to go down by the cactus. They're like 80% water and they're great for like hormone bombs.
Did I get tricked? Because I thought he was being pretty sincere and genuine there. Like, it actually was part of his plan to get his face down in the dirt like that. So he could get close to that cactus and blow it the fuck up.
Sure.
I don't know. That's my interpretation. I feel like this JoJo is.
I think he
pretty
was supposed to
confident,
sound facetious when he said that, and like, yeah.
Well, how would you know? You don't speak Japanese. You can't tell his intonation.
True.
You have no clue.
That's very true.
Yeah, that's why you got to watch it in English. Didn't we just do a whole pathetic list about this?
Uh-oh.
That fight actually lasted 5 chapters in the original manga. Is that fucking true?
I have no idea. Like,
is each chapter's like 3 pages? Like, what the fuck? But he gets down to the Nazi base in Mexico, and they've got the Pillar Man, this big being, and they got it inside this chamber.
You're skipping an important part. What did you think of Tequila Joseph? The way he got
that's true. So he's trying to sneak in, and these Nazis, if there's anything they love, it's brown women. And these Nazis are sexually harassing a bunch of Mexican women. Biggs, did you see your own family
harassing?
In that?
I would say it was full-on sexual assault. He was like,
that's the same fucking thing. It's all fucking English words, Biggs. Don't differentiate them. They all have the same meaning.
I don't know. I feel like harassment and assault are pretty heavily different.
They're just cupping their ass, But when this was written, that was harassment. Today, it would be assault, Biggs. It was a different time. And also, this was the 30s. Like, if you don't grab a Mexican woman's ass, it's probably an insult. Those Nazis were trying to be courteous.
Anyways, go on.
So Joseph sees that, these guys are into Mexican women. What if I become one? So he shows up to the gate in drag, and they don't fall for it. So he just beats the shit out of them.
That was so funny.
It was a good one.
The guy straight up like, dude, you have such huge muscles, and your face is like so manly. Why would you even try?
Wow, Biggs, that's dark. That's a dark thing to say. We just had Toot on the list.
That's what the guy at the gate literally said to him.
You say, if somebody looks too mannish, they shouldn't even try to wear women's clothes, Biggs.
Amen.
That's despicable. Hashtag cancel Biggs. So they have a bunch of the Nazis. They have a bunch of prisoners in this little cell, and they say, okay, one of you volunteer for death. The rest of you can go free. Little boy says, oh, I guess I'll take the hit. And the Nazi says, okay, little boy, you go free. Everybody else is dead. I thought that was pretty gnarly and good. And they want to kill these people and get their blood to put it into the Pillar Man. And that's what wakes his ass up. A combination of sprinkler water and human blood wakes his ass up. And he is, if you thought Dio was strong, this dude is like the ultimate life form. He can basically do anything. Like he can just walk straight through people's bodies and it will like destroy the part that he walked through. He can compress his body and twist it up so that he can fit inside of a 2-inch vent so that he can escape from his prison. What other powers does he have, Biggs?
So he also, I think we discussed before how they like take the body of people and they can like suck it in to take their life power, I guess. And then he also has like this ability to turn his extremities, like that's kind of being like super flexible, but he can like turn it to jelly to like dodge attacks and stuff.
Mm-hmm. And this is where the power scaling is interesting to me, because it's like every episode I think I'm being introduced to the final boss. And then it's like, it turns out, no, it actually gets much worse. And by the end of these 5 parts, there's like fucking like 4 or 5 of these exact Pillar Men. So right when you think it couldn't get any worse, they just multiply it.
Yeah. So anyways, the way they fight Santana, basically JoJo like tries various ways of fighting him. And he just comes to the conclusion that his Hamon is not strong enough in its current state to fight this guy, I guess. And he's pretty much like a brick wall. So he's like, okay, well, we'll go back to like the way we beat Dio the first time and expose him to the sun. So he starts like dragging him up the stairs towards the exit.
And that's when your favorite character, super mega awesome Nazi man, who I guess he lost his leg at some point during the fight or something, but he's helping JoJo. And Santaviento, is that how you say this dude's name? The Pillar Man, I'll call him that. He like fucking jumps inside the Nazi's leg wound to go inside his body to prevent himself from going in the sunlight. That was some good body horror.
Yeah, that's kind of nasty. And then Stroheim's like, well, I guess to kill this guy once and for all, I'm going to pull out this grenade and detonate myself so he's exposed to the sun. To which ultimately fails. Technically, it wasn't until JoJo's like, oh, we tricked you, like we made you wait too long, and now it's high noon and the sun's shining down the well, your only exit. And he ends up turning to stone. And that was I don't know. It was an interesting way to end that fight, because you expect, oh, the sun hurts them, they're gonna turn to ash, but then I guess it does explain like, oh, they turn themselves to stone to stop dying to the sun, but then... Yeah.
I must have missed that, but yeah, and he's not dead, though. Like, now they just have him locked up under UV lights, so I imagine we'll see... Yeah. And people are saying his name is Santana in the original. And the version I watched, they called him... It was like a Spanish name, like Santaviento, and it means the Mexican wind or some shit.
Yeah, so basically... He used a lot of names that got like copyrighted, so they had to change them.
Yeah, speaking of which, at the end of this section, the Pillar Man, like there's a bunch of Pillar Men, and I guess their leader is named AC/DC.
Yep.
I'm supposed to believe this is like an ancient monster of some kind?
There's going to be a lot of stuff like that, like in the next parts especially, so... Yeah, get used to hearing familiar names.
Will there be a guy named Arion?
Sadly, I don't think so.
Will he see visions of a future where humanity's dependence on technology has doomed us all?
So anyways, so after that, it leads into the next thing where they find like the
We're going to Italy, baby. And
so
we meet Caesar Zeppeli. Now... As much as I loved the original Zeppeli, his grandson Caesar here, he might be the superior character just because he actively hates JoJo. Like he's not Zeppeli's like, oh hey, I'm here to teach you. I'll be your complete cuck and die for you. And Caesar's like, no, fuck that. My grandpa sacrificed himself for some dumb bullshit. I'm better than JoJo in every way. He gonna throw some spaghetti at me. I'm gonna fucking destroy his wine glass with my risotto. But go ahead,
Yeah.
Biggs. What are your thoughts on Caesar Zeppeli?
I think he's a great character, and I do like the dynamic of them bickering back and forth, and Speedwagon's just like basically like the parent here, just be like, stop bickering all the time. You guys need to work together to get this done and stuff like that.
Yeah, we forgot to mention Speedwagon is still alive. Yeah, he's 50 years older, but I was glad to see more carryover characters from part one.
Yeah. So then they go to meet Caesar, and he's like their contact to go see this next vault like thing, tomb, I guess, with the other pillarmen. And so they're waiting for some German soldier to take him down there, and in the meantime they're like giving this German soldier a background. He's like about to get married and blah blah blah. Him and Caesar are good buddies.
They really like humanizing Nazis in this show.
And they're like, oh, don't you know the Italians and the Germans, they love each other.
That is true. And the Japanese.
Yeah. So then, so they drive down there, and on the way it cuts over and shows them trying to keep the pillarmen like stuck in stone by putting like UV lights on them. And what was it? They like a hole open and start sucking in air, and then at some point like a horn comes out and kills one of the guys, and he gets enough blood to be able to come out. But I thought it was funny the way they stopped the UV lights was just like mowing down a bunch of guys and covering them all in blood.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and JoJo and friends, they go down down the stairs into the dark cavern and find all the corpses of the Nazis who just got killed by these pillarmen. And I guess the goal of the pillarmen is to get some sort of Aja stone. Don't know what that means. And they're reporting to Master ACDC. And that's pretty much where we leave it.
No,
it's not where we leave it, because Caesar's friend who you're talking about, he does get killed, and now he's pissed. And we know that Caesar's a lot stronger than JoJo, but is he strong enough to fight 3 pillarmen at once? That's the cliffhanger.
Yeah, and so the power dynamic between the 3 pillarmen is there's Cars, there's AC/DC, and then there's I just forgot his name. Do you remember the 3rd pillarman's name?
No.
JoJo Part 2.
But Biggs, I'm going to be completely honest. I need to go to the bathroom, so we should end this podcast within 1 minute.
It was Wamu. That's right.
Okay.
So yeah, the power dynamic there is Cars is like the leader, AC/DC is like the co-leader, and Wamu's like their slave, I guess.
I thought AC/DC was the leader. Like, okay.
Their power over both. But yeah, like that's why he's talking to Cars the most.
Okay, we will be back in a month with 5 more JoJo episodes.